Skoda celebrated its 120th anniversary last year. Today, the ex-Czech/German brand has become the Lidl of the car world. In other words, it's become acceptable, almost a badge of honour amongst the middle classes. Mad to think then that 30 years ago they were still making rear-engined, communist, quirky boxes. This is in fact the first rear-wheel drive Skoda since then, since 1991. What is this? This is the Enyaq, Skoda's brand new, ground up, fresh SUV/crossover thing. I'm Jonny Smith, welcome to the Late Break Show. The Enyaq iV then is a rebodied Volkswagen ID.4. The name, well, it's Celtic, it's Enya with a Q on the end. I don't think it's directly related to the melodic late 80s, early 90s Irish harmony singer person, but I'm okay with it if it is, because I'm quite down with Enya. Whether Enya's got one of these or has ordered one, I don't know. The IV stands for Intelligent Vehicle, and that's what Skoda adds on the badge to all of its EVs. Slightly clutching at straws, but just go with it. It's nothing to do with Roman numerals. So the natural rivals for the Enyaq are its own brethren, the VW ID.4, and the forthcoming Audi Q4 E-Tron, which is based upon the same vehicle as well. But then you've got the Ford Mach-e, you've got the forthcoming Nissan Ariya, and also the elephant in the room, the Hyundai Ioniq 5. They're all a similar size, but this one is actually the biggest. Let's talk design now. Yes, it's a crossover thing. Yes, it's not four-wheel drive yet. It's rear-wheel drive single motor, but you will be able to buy a four-wheel drive one in due course. Looks-wise, it's quite conventional, and you can't miss this part of it. Skoda's kind of trademark big open black grille, but it doesn't need it because it's an electric car. So it's blatantly blanked off. It's a massive plastic. And do you know what? I'm struggling to think of what this reminds me of. And it reminds me of the evil talking furnace in the basement in the film Home Alone that tries to talk to Macaulay Culkin. It reminds me of that. And this one's just even more awkward because you blatantly don't need it. And you can option it with something called the crystal face, which is 130 illuminating LEDs to really draw attention to the grille, which you don't need. What's going on with that? Anyway, I love these bonnet creases. I like the lights. This is very strong, this kind of chin spoiler. And there's one other thing that I find a bit awkward. At the side of the bonnet, you've got these completely false vents. It reminds me of a kind of old Buick. But again, you don't need the vents because it only needs a bit of air, and that air goes in down there. And that grille actually looks nicer than that one. So it would have been nice if it had all been flushed off. But I get it. It's trying to appeal to people who like more conventional looking cars. I think the side profile is probably the Enyaq's best attribute, and that's because the ID.4 side profile has this very awkward, wobbly waistline on it, which makes it look like it's done too much desk job and too much Jaffa cake eating, whereas this is a little bit straighter and it's got this lovely sharp crease which goes along there, and this line here, it's subtle, but I like it, that goes up into the rear lights. So it's not revolution, but I do like it. This particular one's on 21-inch rims, comes as standard on 19s, which look tiny. Now the Enyaq iV, just like the ID.4, is based on the Volkswagen MEB platform, and it also has two choices of battery size. You've got one of them which they call the 60, and that's the 58 kilowatt hour usable battery pack, and then they've got the 80, which this one is, and that's the 77 kilowatt hour battery pack usable. This one is capable of up to 333 miles WLTP. That's a hell of a range. Whereas the smaller battery pack, the 60 model, is 256. So both heavy hitters when it comes to miles. In fact, the 333 is more miles on paper than the ID.4. The 80 model, which is this one, will rapid charge at 50 kilowatts, which is your standard entry-level DC CCS. It'll do that in 1 hour 10, or if you option it with 125 kilowatts DC rapid charge, you can do 0 to 80% in 38 minutes. Wall box 13 hours. The 60 model, a lower battery one, rapid charges in 55 minutes at 50 kilowatts or 35 minutes at 100 kilowatts DC. You can't option that with 125 DC kilowatts. Are you following me? And that will charge on a wall box in 9.5 hours. The idea is, with the Enyaq, you choose which battery you want to go for and then you choose your interior trim. And there's 5 interior trims to choose from. Loft, Lodge, Lounge, Suite, Eco Suite. The Loft is the entry-level one for both cars. Standard on all models, fabric and artificial leather, grey dashboard fabric, stitching and brushed aluminium decor strips. But anyway, the most interesting one, or two for me, is the Lodge, because that uses 40% natural wool and 60% polyester from recycled plastic bottles. And it has a really lovely dash top and kind of weave fabric that I just think it looks and feels premium and being a bit more eco. Then you come to the Lounge, and the Lounge has got microfiber and leather with contrast stitching and anodized bits and bobs, mustard coloured stitching. The Suite, which this is probably the traditional premium one because it's got cognac brown stitching, artificial leather trimmed dashboard, soft black leather seats, and black decorative trims. I think this is actually really boring. I'd probably go for the Eco Suite because that features brown leather dyed with olive tree extracts and piano black decor strips. I'd go for that one, or I'd go for the Loft. This one's not hugely creative. But isn't that the thing with Skoda? Skoda's the sort of, it's not massively creative, it's just very practical and quite conservative. We haven't got very long with this car, and this car's come over from Europe, which is why it's left-hand drive. But what I would say is I've sat in a car that's of a similar price and is of comparable interior space and boot space, and it's far cooler. But I can't tell you about it yet. But it's made by Hyundai. Stop it. Not supposed to say that. The Enyaq is available from £31,500 for the entry-level 60 model. That means it qualifies for the government £2,500 discount in the UK. But this model, the higher spec one, the bigger battery one starts at 39,000, which means it doesn't qualify. What's a little bit odd is it's not actually priced, really, this model, cheaper than the 77 kilowatt hour VW ID.4. The thing about Skoda these days is it is almost more VW, more people's car, than Volkswagen. So I have to ask whether or not VW is sort of pooing in its own nest with Skoda. Have they made them too good? Or have they got a bit lazy with VW brand, which makes the Skoda one look better? As a piece of design, I think it's more formal than the ID.4, but they're both very conservative. Neither of them are exactly Ioniq 5s. And apparently the efficiency can be up to about 3.84 miles per kilowatt hour, which is not bad, especially given it's a sizable brick. And then of course you've got your drive modes available. I found those earlier. You press a physical button here. You've got Eco, Comfort, Normal and Sport or Individual. So it's similar to a lot of them, Eco being the one where it restricts your top speed and your throttle sensitivity and your HVAC system, that kind of thing. Flat bottomed wheel, unnecessary really, especially on a car that blatantly isn't sporty. And that's the thing about this and the ID.4. The fastest version of this is 8.5 seconds to 62, which is what this bigger battery car is. They are going to do a four-wheel drive version with 2 motors, which will be probably a 6 second to 62 car. So it's still not going to be as quick as the higher level of Mustang Mach-e, the sportier forthcoming Nissan Ariyas, or the Ioniq 5 from Hyundai. In the middle of the dash you have quite a big, it's 13-inch this touchscreen, and it sits right up. It dominates the dash. I wish it was a bit more integrated. You've got this sort of slide volume control on this touchscreen here, but it doesn't have haptic style buttons on the steering wheel like the ID.4, which I found okay. This has cheaper, more traditional buttons. They're plastic and they feel quite vulnerable. They protrude out, and I wonder whether they're going to get damaged. Heated steering wheel is standard, which is really good. I do think, although the colours and everything on this are bright, the icons are quite large and easy to get your head around. I don't know. The VW software, which this shares, obviously being a VW car, it's just, there's something not quite right about it. It seems to be quite slow and indecisive, and I found myself, when we've turned the camera off, just getting my phone out and using my phone. And actually, to that point, all Enyaqs come as standard with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So less tech in there. Just let people bring tech to the car with your phone. And apparently there's a voice command help in Skoda called Hey Laura. So if I say, hey Laura, can you tell me the weather?
What would you like to do?
I'd like to go to Milton Keynes. Now this is a real problem if you've got a friend called Laura.
Please wait a moment. Sorry, unable to connect to the internet.
Of course. Laura's a really common name. I possibly wouldn't have used a common name. I would have used something like Octavia, given that Skoda own that name anyway, and there aren't many women called Octavia, I don't think, compared to Laura. I've not done a survey. Need to look at a census. Don't be fooled by the chrome, that's an option, and that is the thing. That is the thing about the Enyaq. Option this car carefully. There are no less than 11 equipment packs. It is bewildering. I was confused looking through them, which is why I've got to bring my piece of paper up. Just the silver paint is 600 quid. But all Enyaqs come as standard with 19-inch rims, 13-inch display, sat-nav with Apple CarPlay and Android, dual zone climate, keyless entry, rear parking sensors, and ambient lighting. But if you get the 80, the larger battery car, which this one is, it gets front parking sensors, a rear view camera, heated steering wheel, along with exterior trim to distinguish it a bit better, and obviously bigger wheels. But you've got packs like Climate Pack, which has the heated front seats and the heated front washer nozzles, and tri-zone climate control. But you get the Climate Pack Plus for 710 quid, you get heated front and rear screens. Then you get the drive package. I look at the heat pump, and that's a £1,005 option. But like, if you live in Britain, you need that, because it saves you a lot of energy when you're driving around to keep the car warm or cool. Electric seats, they're 400 quid each. DC rapid charging at 100 kilowatts or 125 kilowatts is an option, and it's an option you really want, you know? And that's 440 quid for this. Tow bar, retractable, 775 quid. Quite a good option. Chrome package, 320, no thanks. Parking Plus package, £700. Assisted Drive Plus package, £915. Convenience package, £1,240. Comfort seat package, £440. Infotainment Plus, £740. The Light and View package, £1,115. Whoa. Drive Sport Plus package, £785. Panoramic roof, £815. I actually would spend that on that. The Transport package, £260. Climate Plus, £710. Oh my gosh, Family package, £305. Go away with your packages. It's too many packages. Skoda even says here that we've tried to make it really simple. So we've given you 5 interior themes and 2 batteries. I get that. If it was just 2 batteries and then choose your interior theme of loft, lodge, lounge, suite, eco suite, I could live with that. The problem is you go delving into these packages, and this can become a 50 grand car. You are staring at a car that with its options is 53k. 53k. And the thing about this car is it starts at 31.5. And Skodas are great when you just take it easy and you enjoy it for what it is. And this is a well-appointed car as standard. As soon as you start going over 40 grand with this, I think you might have to look elsewhere. Or you might have to look at yourself in the mirror and have a reality check. As good and practical as it is. Now this is when I can really start to feel the Orinoco flow of the Enyaq. And the reason for that is because it's a slightly bigger car, lengthwise, height-wise and width-wise than the ID.4. And you feel that here in the back with knee room, plenty of leg room, and you feel that in the boot as well. In fact, this is a bigger car than all of its rivals, bigger than the Mach-e, bigger than the Ariya, bigger than the Ioniq 5. It is a big car. It feels a little bit more cumbersome on the road, but the trade-off is you do get a lot of space here for passengers. The middle person benefits from the flat floor here, and it is a completely flat floor. Don't be fooled that they all come with heated back seats and double USBs here and blinds like that, because they don't. That's all optional, and you can get carried away with the options. Double cup holder there with a pen support. You can actually access, yeah, you can access the boot there with that. Being Skoda, there are lots of cubbies and practicalities. It's just slightly more dowdily clad, I would say. Do like it though. That's a really, really good middle seat. Yeah, that is a good middle seat. As you might know, the Late Break Show new car launch episodes are sponsored by Continental tyres. But Continental do a lot more than just tyres on new cars. In fact, I told them I was reviewing the Enyaq, and they sent me through a list of what they make on this car besides tyres. And they make on here the brake hoses, the radar system, the memory seat modules for the electric seats, the windscreen washer system, which is also heated, and various other control units. So there's a lot more than just black circles. You can't put any shopping in here. There's no fruit, as you can see on the Enyaq. It's got a big boot though. The back end of the Enyaq, I actually think the back end is pretty good. In fact, I think the back end of this, the ID.4, the Mach-e, the Ariya, all of the rivals in this genre are all looking good at the back and less good at the front. They've all got fairly awkward conks, I think. What you can see is that the letters Skoda are really proudly emblazoned across the back, a bit like what Porsche are doing now, I think. And you've got this aero spoiler here that goes right over the back window, and that's popular now to try and get the efficiency of the car up, although they could have made the front end just a little bit more aero. That massive blanked off fire grate. Anyway, Johnny, shut up and show them the boot, because this is impressive. Like most Skodas, practical, big space in the back is incredible. Really, really impressive. Now that is 585 litres, which is significantly bigger than its brother, the ID.4, 543 litres. It's bigger also than the Ford Mach-e, it's bigger than the Nissan Ariya, but if you take into account the fruit that the Ioniq 5 has, the Hyundai, the back and the front of the Hyundai is bigger combined. Lots of space down under there, but also what's cool, I will try and demonstrate this. These are quite cumbersome these days, aren't they? But Skoda, being practical, there's a special designated spot for it. Skoda has some like real kind of hallmark features called Simply Clever. They just come as standard, they're just neat little touches. One of them being these little rubber grip nipples, don't think they're actually called that, in the bottom of the cup holders. That allows you to take the top off a bottle of water one-handed safely. Simply Clever. These clips here for parking permits and things like that. Simply Clever. This in the door here, yeah. It's only a little holster for your Skoda umbrella, and there's the same holster on the passenger side, so you could buy another one for your passenger. Simply Clever. Go round to the tailgate, and in there, in the side, is an ice scraper, a proper Skoda ice scraper, and a tyre tread gauge. It even says Simply Clever on it, because it's simply clever. It's actually practical. I don't know if it's clever. Well. Behind the front and passenger seat here, there's not just a little sleeve usual thing for your map pocket or your magazines. There's an additional little pocket for your mobile phone. So you can put your mobile phone in there. It's Simply Clever until you leave your mobile phone in there and it's someone else's car and say it's a minicab, and then it's simply annoying. But it's mostly Simply Clever. I don't know whether it's true, but it feels a lot more stocky to drive. It feels less nimble than the VW, but the VW's got more curves in it, especially along this waistline. This feels more brick-like. They haven't tried to hide its SUV-ness. In fact, I think they've intentionally kept it quite chiseled and quite conventional looking, probably so that they invite people from piston cars straight into it. They should have made it more aerodynamic, surely. Shouldn't they? Maybe I'm being down on it. I do like the visibility actually for such a big car, Visibility feels good. I've got the optional panoramic roof, which I always think is probably an option worth spending the money on. I wouldn't spend the extra money on the electric memory seats because I think they're a lot of money for what they are. And I don't mind manual seats. It's one thing to go, less to go wrong. Also, it makes it lighter. This is a very quiet and comfortable car. That's what I would say. I think they've got it right. In the literature, Skoda says it has a vice-like grip on the road because it's rear-wheel drive. I'm not entirely sure that's the case, although it doesn't really feel rear-wheel drive in terms of like a sports car, because you just can't. You can't turn all of its safety controls off. You're not going to be sliding it in anytime soon. It's not. The Enyaq is not that. The Enyaq is more easy listening than that, like Enya. That's the thing about the Enyaq. Who's it aimed at? It's aimed at someone that wants to migrate into. That's one of those electric delivery cars. I've just done a UE because we're in Milton Keynes. We've only got a couple of hours with this car to test, and we've just driven past one of those autonomous electric delivery carts. Oh, it's outside someone's house. I mean, how strange. It kind of looks like something from a sci-fi film. Oh, worth pointing out, there's no park on the function. You've got this little nodule, and it's only got drive, neutral and reverse. So you just pull up, and I guess you pull the handbrake up, and it knows that you want to get out. Yeah, puts it into park, and the start-stop is there. But you don't need to use the start-stop because it just knows when you get in and out that you've got the key on you. Let's just have a quick look at this. Oh, it's gone. It's driven off. It's trying to find someone's house. Let's chase it. Bloody get it. All right, yeah, there you go. So I didn't need to press the start-stop button on the Enyaq. It knew I was there. Actually, way quicker than I was expecting. I can't remember the name of those. Oh, here we go. Is it going to cross it? It's not going to cross the road. It's going to cross the road. Are you getting this? It's going to cross the road. It's waiting. Oh my gosh. I mean, I love oh, it's quite quick. It's really quick. It's just so freaky. But it's really small. What's it delivering? Like one person's curry? Is that all it's doing? All that effort? You'd want it to be 4 times the size, wouldn't you? I mean, what's weird about those is they're so small you could surely just launch it into someone's front lawn. But do you know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't you just make it much bigger so that people can't vandalise it? The Enyaq is not radical like that thing is that I can't remember the name of that I'll put on screen. It's a much more conventional car in many, many ways. Aside from the fact that beneath the floor there, of course, you've got a load of lithium-ion battery packs. I think the Skoda Enyaq is probably a better car than the ID.4 if you just want to buy it sort of more entry-level spec and not get crazy with the configurator. As soon as you do that, it kind of erodes the point, I think, of a Skoda. Although saying that, it's a classy looking thing. Do you know, I'm probably being a bit down on this because I prefer cars that are a little bit more quirky, but what I would say is the VW ID.4 interior has a little bit more flamboyance as long as you option it with the sort of lighter colours, and that isn't to everybody's taste. What I do like though is the combination of kind of normal buttons here with your touchscreen bits going on in there. I like this unintrusive gear selector, and I like all the stowage because there's loads of stowage. And frankly, having been for a drive for the last hour and a half in it, I find it to be very, very comfortable, quiet and refined ride. But this isn't going to be like a rapid car. This is a very family orientated box. So the Enyaq iV then, it's much like Enya. Music, easy listening, easy to get along with, very relaxing, practical, you know? But much like Lidl, think thrifty, don't get carried away. It's a great product, the Enyaq, but I think you can just get so buried in options and then it becomes too expensive and sort of prices itself out of contention. But on the whole, it's okay. Thank you for watching The Late Break Show. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already subscribed, click subscribe. Do you think this car is more desirable than the ID.4, or would you rather have the Mustang Mach-e? Have a look at those videos. I did reviews on those cars earlier. Thanks for watching.